Comment down what you think about these stories or just a hello, and the team will reply. We always reply to the comments. As always, please like and subscribe and help this channel grow. Thank you. It started out subtle enough that I didn't think much of it at first. A random Snapchat notification on my phone for an account with a string of numbers as the username. No profile pic or anything. I opened it and saw a blurry photo taken from down the block, with my house visible in the background. Weird, I thought. It must be a wrong number or something. I dismissed it and went on my day. Over the next few weeks, I continued getting these mystery snaps. Always with no context. Always photographing moments from my everyday life. A shot of me getting coffee before work. A wide angle of me walking into the office. A photo taken through my living room window as I relaxed after dinner. I swiped through them with a mix of curiosity and unease. Who was this person and how did they have access to my private moments? The snaps increased in frequency multiple times a day. Now they included close-up shots, a picture of my hand on the computer mouse at my desk, the back of my head while I was driving, extreme close-ups of my eyes, mouth, hands. It was deeply unsettling. I frantically searched my house and office for hidden cameras but found nothing. Changing my passwords and privacy settings did nothing to deter my cyberstalker. The breaking point came when I received a snap of myself and my girlfriend tangled in an intimate embrace. I felt violated and outraged. This creep had managed to infiltrate my bedroom and photograph us without our knowledge. That was the last straw. I went to the police and showed them the snaps, pleading for help tracking down the sender. Of course, they were limited in what they could do, with only a string of digits for a username, no profile pic, and images that could have been taken from anywhere. There was little to go on. I spent countless sleepless nights tossing and turning, imagining some creep lurking right outside my bedroom window. We installed motion sensor lights and security cameras around the house, but the snaps kept coming. After a month with no leads, the messages stopped as mysteriously as they had started. The police tried to reassure me this stalker had likely moved on and I was no longer in danger. But I didn't feel safe anymore, not in my own home, not walking down the street. I became hyper-vigilant, constantly scanning faces in crowds wherever I went, searching for the culprit. But they were like a ghost, appearing only through the veil of technology to haunt me. I may never know who took those unsettling photos or how they gained access to the intimate moments of my life. The identity of my cyberstalker remains a mystery to this day. All I know is they left me feeling violated and exposed, stripped of the sense of privacy and safety I once took for granted. I emerged haunted, wary of technology's ability to uplift the curtain of our lives without warning. We assume moments not posted online remain private, but that sense of security is just an illusion. Someone is always watching. I tried to move on with my life, but it wasn't easy. I found myself avoiding social media, putting tape over my laptop camera, jumping at every buzz or ding from my phone. When I went out, I chose busy public places and kept scanning the crowd, looking over my shoulder frequently. At home, I shut the blinds tightly and checked the locks multiple times every night. My girlfriend said I was becoming paranoid, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being observed, even within my own four walls. Work became difficult. I was jumpy and distracted, constantly worrying if someone was watching me through a hidden camera. My boss expressed concern about my declining performance. I just told him I hadn't been sleeping well, rather than admit what I was going through. The isolation of it all was suffocating. This sinister presence had infiltrated my life, and I had no one to confide in, no one who would believe me. When I heard a shuffle outside my window late one night, I immediately called the police in a panic. But it turned out to just be a raccoon in the garbage cans. The officers admonished me for wasting their time. My girlfriend said I needed help, but I refused therapy. No one could understand the shadow this stalker had cast over my life. One night, jolted awake by a nightmare, I grabbed my phone to check the time. There waiting for me was a single snap, a dark, blurry image of myself and my girlfriend asleep. My blood turned to ice. They had been here in my bedroom as we lay vulnerable and unaware. I jumped out of bed, turned on all the lights, and searched every inch of the room. Just like before, there was no trace of an intruder. No hidden cameras, nothing disturbed. It was like a sinister ghost toying with me. In the morning, groggy from another sleepless night, I knew I had hit rock bottom. The stalking had consumed my life for too long. I needed to take back control. So I did something radical. I deleted all social media accounts, got a new phone number, moved to a new apartment across town. made a clean break from everything familiar. I knew it was extreme, but I felt like a victim who needed to go into hiding to reclaim my life. Over time, after months with no creepy snaps, I slowly adjusted to my new reality. I remained cautious, keeping my online presence to a minimum. But the constant stress and hypervigilance faded. I allowed myself to laugh freely again, form new friendships, rediscover small joys like a sunny walk in the park. My girlfriend and I started over fresh in our relationship, not haunted by the sinister intruder from the past. I may never know who stalked me so relentlessly and intricately. Part of me fears they could return at any moment if I let my guard down. But refusing to live in fear was an act of defiance, my way of taking back control. I still glance over my shoulder more than others. Check the locks a few too many times. But that no longer defines me. I've reclaimed my life from the faceless predator in the shadows. Though they lurk on the fringes, I won't surrender everything to them again. My story continues while they remain frozen, nameless, and powerless in the past. Connecting with new people on social media can be fun, but it can also lead to some seriously creepy situations. I learned that lesson the hard way when I started chatting with someone on Snapchat who seemed totally normal at first, but turned out to be mimicking my entire life. It all started innocently enough. I was browsing Snapchat one day when I got a friend request from a guy named Ben. His profile pic was just a selfie of a decent looking dude around my age. I figured what the heck and accepted the request. Ben immediately started a chat with me, asking basic stuff like where I was from and what I did for fun. I told him I was a college student majoring in communications and that I liked photography, going to concerts, and hanging out with friends. Ben said he was also in college and enjoyed the same things as me. We started chatting every day about normal stuff like classes, music, and weekend plans. It was nice to make a new connection. After a couple weeks, though, things started to get weird. Ben began posting Snapchat stories that looked eerily similar to mine, almost like he was mimicking my daily activities. For example, one day I posted a story of myself at a cafe studying. The next day, Ben posted a story that looked like it was taken at the exact same cafe with the same drink I had ordered. Another time I posted a video of my roommate and I dancing at a party. The next night, Ben posted a video that appeared to be shot in my apartment with two people who looked like me and my roommate dancing. At first I thought it was just an odd coincidence, but the mimicking kept happening over and over again with his posts. It was like he was purposefully recreating my stories. I confronted Ben and asked him why his content seemed to copy my life so closely. He just laughed it off and said I was being paranoid. Still, I couldn't shake the creepy feeling, so I stopped responding to his messages. A couple days later, though, things got even more disturbing. I began getting messages on Snapchat from random people asking if I was the one in a provocative video Ben had sent them. Others asked why I had messaged them flirtatious things when they didn't even know me. I was completely confused and asked one person to forward me the video. When I viewed it, I nearly vomited. It was clearly an impersonation of me, using private photos and videos I had taken for myself and never shared. I immediately blocked Ben, reported his account, and posted a story warning people that someone was impersonating me. Over the next few days, the messages kept rolling in from strangers about inappropriate content I had supposedly sent. It made my skin crawl knowing this creep Ben was out there pretending to be me and deceiving people. I worried about what else he might do with my images and information. The whole experience was a harsh reminder that you really can't trust anyone fully on social media, even if they seem normal at first. After this violation of privacy, I'll definitely be more cautious about what I share and who I connect with online. My Snapchat horror story certainly taught me a lesson on the dark side of social media and has me creeped out to this day. You truly never know someone's real intentions or what they might do with anything you share, even with an app that's meant to be fun and temporary. Staying vigilant is key to avoiding a scary cyber stalker situation like I unfortunately found myself in thanks to that supposedly innocent friend request from Ben. I kept asking myself, how could I have been so foolish? Why did I accept a random friend request without thinking twice about it? I'm usually more careful than that online, but I guess I let my guard down with Snapchat. After all, it's not like a dating app. It's just for posting silly pics and videos that disappear, right? Wrong. As my horror story proves, Snapchat can be just as dangerous as any other social media if you aren't cautious. Once someone has access to view your content, there's no telling what they might do with it. Looking back now, there were some other red flags I should have noticed earlier with Ben. For one, he never posted any personal snaps of himself. All his content was inspired by my stories. He also started asking me really probing questions about my daily routines, favorite places to hang out in the classes. At the time, I thought he was just being friendly, but it's clear now he had sinister intentions to copy my life. What's most troubling is that I have no idea who Ben really is or how much of my personal information he gathered. His profile was bogus for sure, and I never met him in person or even video chatted, so I couldn't verify anything. He was just a stranger on the internet who tricked me into trusting him with parts of my private world. And now, who knows what he's doing with that access? The scariest part is how effortless it was for him to impersonate me. All it took was downloading my photos and videos to create the fake account. With today's technology, it's frightening how simply someone's identity can be copied. This chilling experience has definitely impacted how I see social media now. I barely use Snapchat anymore, and I change all my privacy settings to limit what strangers can see. I'm ultra selective about accepting friend requests now, even deleting people I don't know well in real life. And I'm careful not to overshare personal details online that could help someone mimic me. My friends have also been really supportive, reporting any strange accounts pretending to be me. It's a harsh truth, but you really have to stay vigilant protecting yourself online. I learned that lesson in the most creepy, unsettling way possible thanks to my Snapchat stalker. So please be careful what you share and who you trust on social media. You truly never know someone's real motivations or what they might do with your private content and information. Don't end up starring your own social media horror story like I did. Stay smart and skeptical to avoid giving a creeper the tools to impersonate you or invade your world. I definitely learned that lesson the hard way through my chilling tale of connecting with a seemingly innocent guy named Ben on Snapchat. But if my cautionary experience helps even one person avoid the same creepy fate, then at least some good came out of the situation. Be safe out there in the digital world and stay aware. You never know who might really be behind that friendly online facade. It started out as just another typical Saturday night. I was sitting at home watching TV when I heard the familiar Snapchat notification on my phone. I picked it up expecting it to be one of my friends being silly as usual, but what I saw made my heart drop. It was a video from my best friend, Atif. He was one of those adventure junkie types, always pushing his limits with extreme sports and travel. But this was different. His face was pale, and he had a terrified look in his eyes. "Help me," he said in a panicked voice. "I'm lost in the woods and I think something is following me. Please, I need help." My hands shook as I tried to comprehend what I was seeing. This had to be some kind of prank, right? But the fear in his eyes looked all too real. I quickly typed out a reply, "Atif, what's going on? Where are you?" But when I tried to send it, I got an error message. The snap had disappeared. Confused, I called and texted Atif, but got no response. Had something happened to his phone? Was he in real danger? I had no idea. Hours passed with no word from him. I paced around my apartment, anxiety building. Why wasn't he answering me? Around 1 a.m., my phone dinged again. Snapchat. Holding my breath, I opened it. There was Atif again, eyes wide with terror. "Please help," he cried. "I'm lost and I hear growling. Something is stalking me." He turned the camera and I caught a glimpse of dense forest at night before the snap ended. Again, I tried to reply, and again it failed to send. What was happening? Why could I only reach him through these looping snaps? I called the police, and they said they would drive out to the state park where Atif liked to hike, but they didn't sound too concerned. Just a lost hiker, they assumed. If only they knew the real terror in his eyes. The night dragged on endlessly. I dozed off fitfully, only to be awoken by more frantic snaps from Atif. Each time he looked worse, cold, haggard, utterly petrified. He begged me to come find him. He swore he could hear heavy footsteps behind him, twigs snapping, something just out of view. But no matter how I tried, I couldn't reply. By morning, I was sick with worry. As soon as it was light out, I drove to the state park to search for Atif myself. I hiked all this favorite trail shouting his name, but there was no sign of him. The park ranger had seen nothing either. Exhausted and hoarse, I returned home. Where could he be? Why did the snaps keep coming as if on a loop? It had to be some elaborate prank, I tried to reassure myself. But doubt gnawed at me. What if, what if something had gotten him? Some evil lurking in those dark woods. I couldn't stop thinking about those Snapchat videos. The look of pure terror in Atif's eyes felt so real, so desperate. As much as I wanted it to be a joke, my gut told me something was terribly wrong. Late that night, a new snap arrived. My heart caught in my throat. Slowly, hand shaking, I opened it. There was Atif's ashen face again. But something was wrong. His eyes were glassy, lifeless. Blood trickled down his forehead. He opened his mouth to speak, but only a guttural rasp came out. Then the snap ended. I screamed and threw my phone across the room. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. I curled it on the floor and sobbed, more scared than I'd ever been in my life. My best friend was dead, and I was powerless to save him. The next morning, I drove back to the state park and frantically searched every trail, every ravine, every corner I could find. But still no sign of Atif. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the woods, I finally had to accept the horrible truth. He was gone. Whatever sinister force had stopped him in the night had claimed him forever. I never received another snap from Atif. The police finally took me seriously and launched an investigation, but they never found his body. I can't prove what really happened to him that night, but I know in my heart that evil found him in those dark woods, and it used Snapchat to lure me into its twisted game. I deleted the app and destroyed my phone soon after, but sometimes at night, I still get that familiar Snapchat notification sound. My blood turns to ice. I know I'm trying again, and I never look. The ghostly snap haunts me, a constant chilling reminder of the friend I lost and the darkness that waits in the shadows. I pray that whatever evil stole Atif away will never return for me, but deep down I fear it's only a matter of time. The woods call to me, taunting me, daring me to find out what really happened. One day, I may have no choice but to answer. It's been months since Atif disappeared, but the memory still haunts me. I replay those terrified Snapchat videos over and over in my mind. Why didn't I do more to save him? Why couldn't I reply? The guilt eats away at me. Sometimes I still drive out to the state park, roaming the trails and yelling Atif's name until my voice is raw. Other hikers give me strange looks, but I don't care. I'm compelled to search for him even though I know it's hopeless. The police eventually stopped looking. In their eyes, it was just another missing persons case gone cold. They have no idea what evil lurks in those woods. No idea of the twisted supernatural game that was played using Snapchat to lure me in. I considered deleting the app again, but some masochistic part of me needs to keep it, because maybe, somehow, Atif will send another sign. As much as the snaps terrify me, they also give me a faint, hopeless hope. So I wait anxiously for the next ghostly message I pray will never come. The woods taunt me, beckoning me to unravel their dark secrets. But I resist, because if I go back there, I may end up like Atif, stalked by a sinister entity, unable to escape its evil grasp. For now, I live in purgatory, haunted by the past, afraid of the shadows, jumping at every Snapchat notification. Atif's death has become my obsession. I know this grim limbo can't last forever. Eventually, I'll either lose my mind to fear or be lured back to the woods to learn the truth. But which fate is worse, madness or confronting the evil? I still don't have an answer. All I know is the darkness has already claimed my best friend, and soon it may come for me too. So I wait and dread the day I'll hear that ghostly Snapchat sound once more, the sound that will force me back into the woods to face my destiny. It started out so innocently. I was excited when Snapchat rolled out their new location sharing feature. I immediately enabled it so I could see where my friends were hanging out around town. It was fun to drop in on each other unexpectedly. We'd share silly selfies and videos of wherever we happened to be at the moment. At first, I didn't think much of the random usernames that would pop up near me. I figured they were just other people with location services enabled. But then I noticed one name in particular, Joshiboy28, would appear over and over again in places I frequented. My house, the gym, the grocery store, the mall. It was a little creepy, but I brushed it off. I hardly paid attention to the little yellow ghost icon next to that name that seemed to follow me everywhere. It wasn't until I was at the park with friends one day that it really hit me. As I was scrolling through Snapchat, I saw that ghost icon right on top of my Bitmoji. I zoomed out of the map. Joshiboy28 was at the park too. My heart started racing. I looked around, half expecting some stranger to be staring at me. but there was no one who seemed to be watching me. Later at home, Joshi28 appeared at my house again. I got a sinking feeling in my gut. Who was this person? And how did they seem to know where I was at all times? I racked my brain trying to figure out if I actually knew anyone named Josh. I didn't think so. I decided to change my privacy settings, turning off location sharing for anyone but my closest friends. That seemed to work for a few weeks. But then Toshiboy28 found me again. Over the next few days, that ghost icon would suddenly pop up wherever I was. At work, at restaurants, driving around town. My anxiety worsened. I felt like I was being virtually stalked. So I blocked Joshiboy28 completely. I hoped that would be the end of it. And for a month it was. Until I got a DM on Snapchat from a new account. Shimon 2828. Hey, saw you at the gym today. Looking good. The message read, I felt ill. This had to be the same person. Over the next few weeks, Jimen 2828 messaged me constantly with unnerving details about my days. That red top looked great on you. And who was that guy you had coffee with? Were just a couple of the messages. I never responded, but reported each account. It did no good. Again and again, new usernames would pop up. I was utterly creeped out. Whoever this was knew what I wore, where I hung out, who I talked to. It was like having a stalker. I started questioning my friends, asking if they'd told anyone details about me. They all swore they hadn't. I avoided going out. I was paranoid this person could be lurking anywhere watching me. At my lowest point, another DM appeared. Why so down? I miss seeing you around town. I had enough. I responded angrily. Who is this? How do you know all this stuff about me? To my dismay, they answered, Ah, don't be like that. I feel like I know you so well from your snaps. We're friends, even if you don't know me. I blocked the account again. But I knew this wasn't over. This person had somehow figured out how to use Snapchat to track my location over time. They were utterly obsessed, though I had no idea who they were. I feared what they might do next. So I took the only step left to me. I deleted my Snapchat account completely. It's been months now without any word from this mysterious stalker. I'm hopeful I'm finally free of them. But I still feel shaken whenever I see those yellow ghost icons pop up on other apps. I know I'll never feel quite as safe sharing my location online again. I decided to open up to my closest friend, Sarah, about the creepy experience. She was shocked when I told her all the details about being virtually stalked by some stranger online. Sarah convinced me that I should file a police report, even though I had no idea who the person was behind those Snapchat accounts. At first, I resisted since I had no evidence beyond some screenshots of messages. But Sarah pushed me to at least document what happened in case this person escalated their behavior. So I met with a police officer and told them my story. The officer took down all the information and said cyberstalking cases were on the rise. They promised to keep the report on file in case any future incidents occurred. After talking to the police, I felt a bit better knowing my experience was officially recorded. Sarah suggested I also look into getting a restraining order against the online stalker, but the officer had said there was little chance of getting one without knowing the actual identity of the person. Still, at least now there was an official paper trail if this escalated. I also decided to see a therapist to deal with the anxiety I was feeling after being stalked online. It had really shaken my sense of safety and security. The therapist helped me work through how violating the whole experience felt. She gave me some coping techniques to deal with the lingering paranoia I now felt about my online privacy. While I hoped the situation was resolved, it still impacted me emotionally for months afterwards. I found myself much warier about sharing any details online where someone could use them to track my real-world location. I changed so many of my privacy settings, stopped geotagging posts, and restricted my social media accounts. In follow-up sessions with the therapist, I worked on not letting the incident control my life. I didn't want to hand over all my power to an anonymous stalker by hiding away or living in fear. Slowly, with her help, I found myself feeling safer in my daily routines, less haunted by what had happened. My friend Sarah was also an amazing support, reassuring me whenever those old fears cropped up again. She would say, "Don't let that creepy jerk make you feel scared." Just hearing her remind me this didn't define me was comforting. Having her in my corner gave me strength. Gradually, I regained my sense of normalcy, even venturing back onto apps and social media. I remained much more vigilant about my settings, though. And for a long while, I avoided Snapchat entirely, associating it too much with that unsettling experience. With time, the emotions around that virtual stalking situation faded. I felt like myself again rather than victim. Therapy, friendship, and reclaiming my activities online have all helped me take back my power. I won't pretend I don't still get uneasy whenever an unknown username pops up around me virtually, but I refuse to let it control me. I'm proud of how I handled it and recovered. I got a snap from my old friend Mark, who had moved across the country last year. It was just a quick selfie of him hanging out in his room. Nothing seemed too out of the ordinary, so I sent a snap back saying hi and asking how the new city was treating him. Over the next few weeks, the snaps kept coming. More selfies of Mark watching TV, driving around town, even hanging out with some new friends. I started to notice something was a little off, though. The snaps seemed strangely impersonal, almost robotic. Mark had always been bubbly and animated, but in these snaps his expressions were blank, his voice flat. One snap in particular gave me chills. It was a video of Mark sitting in his bedroom rambling on about some movie he had just seen. But his eyes were vacant, like he was reading from a script. The cadence of his voice sounded synthesized too. I even thought I caught a glimpse of pixels around his mouth. I tried calling and texting Mark to catch up, but he only responded with vague one-word answers. It was so unlike him. He had always been talkative, especially over text. I started to wonder if something was wrong. The snaps kept arriving, sometimes multiple in a day. Each one made me more and more uneasy. Mark looked almost robotic. I could tell it was him in the videos, but it seemed like someone else was controlling him, using his likeness against his will. I decided I had to get to the bottom of this. I booked a flight to go see Mark in person. As soon as I arrived, I could tell something was off. He greeted me normally, but seemed confused when I mentioned the snaps. "What snaps?" he said with a puzzled look. "I haven't really used Snapchat since I moved." My heart dropped. I pulled out my phone and showed him all the videos I had been receiving from his account. As he watched them, his eyes widened with shock. "That's not me," he whispered. "I mean, it looks like me, but I never sent those." We sat there in stunned silence as the reality sunk in. Somehow, someone had gotten a hold of Mark's identity and was using it to manipulate me. They had perfectly replicated his voice and mannerisms. If I hadn't come to see Mark in person, I would have had no idea. Over the next few days, Mark and I changed all his passwords and set up extra security protections. The fake snaps immediately stopped coming. We still have no idea who was behind it. The police investigated but hit dead ends. I never found out what the end goal was. Identity theft? Spying? Some twisted catfishing scheme? All I know is it has left me shaken, constantly looking over my shoulder. I don't know how they got Mark's biometric data or were able to mimic him so flawlessly, but the technology is out there and it terrifies me. Now every notification sends a chill down my spine. You never know who is really on the other end. Social media provides the perfect mask for deception. Once trust is broken, it leaves you forever suspicious. I've stopped opening snaps, even from close friends. I question every text, every call, wondering if it's just an illusion meant to manipulate me. I try to remind myself that most people have good intentions, but evil lurks behind some screens. My experience with Mark's imposter has fundamentally changed me. I'm more guarded, less likely to take things at interface value. I know now how easy it is for anyone to become a victim of identity theft and targeted hoaxes. Maybe I'm being paranoid, but after staring into the empty eyes of my friend's digitally manipulated doppelganger, I don't think I'll ever look at social media the same way again. Nothing is quite as it seems. Reality is fluid when technology is involved. I wish I could go back to simpler times, before we poured our lives into machines, before faces could be faked and voices mimicked. Back when you could trust your own senses. But virtual reality and actual reality have merged. Who knows what the future holds? For now, I'll proceed with caution, avoiding anything that seems too perfect. Because I know that darkness lurks right beneath the surface where you least expect it. I don't think I'll ever feel truly safe online again. But I also won't ignore the red flags like I used to. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, that's on me. I won't be fooled again. I replay the chilling snaps over and over in my mind, trying to spot inconsistencies or clues I might have missed. But the impersonator was skilled. Every mannerism, every blink, every pause feels like the real Mark. I start questioning my own memories. Is this how Mark really was? Or has the fake version contaminated my recollections? I can't trust anything anymore. At night, I have vivid nightmares where I see Mark glitching and pixelating in front of me. His face distorts into a sinister grin as he reaches towards me. No matter how hard I try to run away, his form keeps flickering right beside me. I wake up in a cold sweat, heart racing. During the day, I compulsively check Mark's social media to make sure no new imposter accounts have popped up. Any notification makes my adrenaline spike before I even look at it. I know I'm spiraling, but I feel powerless to stop it. Mark tries to help me move past it. He says we outsmarted them this time, and he's safe now with stronger protections on his online presence. But I can't shake the paranoia. It infects everything now. My friends notice the change in me. They say I seem distant, constantly distracted. I don't tell them the whole story because, frankly, it sounds insane. High-tech identity theft via deepfake videos. It's too far-fetched. They wouldn't understand the violation I feel. So I feign normalcy when I'm around others. But inside, I'm crumbling. I replay my interactions like a detective looking for deceit. I know it's unhealthy to be so suspicious all the time, but I don't know how to get back what I've lost, my sense of security, my ability to trust. Part of me just wants to retreat from technology completely. No more social media, no more video calls, no more recorded evidence that our realities can be warped. Perhaps ignorance would provide some feeling of safety, even if it was false. But total disconnection isn't realistic anymore. The web has woven itself into every aspect of life. There's no escaping the filters and facades, the anonymity that breeds deception. I have to adapt or become obsolete. So for now, I walk this tightrope of caution, avoiding anything that seems too slick or stage, while still trying to embrace the benefits of an interconnected world. I'm more in the more innocent era when virtual mingled less with actual. But there's no turning back time. Who knows, maybe I'm overreacting. We all absorb white lies and half-truths from screens every day. But my brush with the counterfeit has cracked open what I took for granted. It's shaken my faith in the integrity of people's projected personas. I know underneath there may lurk a more sinister agenda. The only way forward is to strengthen my own filters against falsehoods. Be more vigilant with verifying sources. Demand more transparency from platforms that profit off our data shadows. Rewrite the code of conduct we expect from each other online. Staying plugged in has risks, but good can still outweigh bad. I want to believe most users have pure intentions, that moral decency remains the norm. One day, I hope my trust returns. For now, I guard myself, empowered by knowledge and caution. Deception dwells in darkness. By shedding light, we dispel its power. Even after staring evil in the face, I retain hope. The only way to defeat these demons is to stand up and face them eyes wide open. I've always loved using Snapchat. The filters make me laugh, and the face swap feature is just hilarious. My friends and I swap faces all the time, morphing into weird combinations of each other's features. It's all in good fun. But one night, something strange happened when I was messing around with the face swap on my own. I opened the app and held it up to swap faces with myself in the camera, something I've done a million times. But this time, instead of my face morphing into its own odd creation, it swapped with someone else's face. Someone I didn't recognize. A gaunt, ghostly face with hollow eyes and sharp cheekbones. I blinked a few times, thinking it was just a glitch, but the eerie visage remained, staring back at me from my own body. I exited out of the filter, but the face lingered longer than it should have. For a split second after returning to normal, I continued to see those hollow eyes and sharp cheeks reflected back at me. It sent a chill down my spine. I told myself it was just because I was tired, so I put my phone away and tried to sleep. Over the next few days, I caught glimpses of that face out of the corners of my eyes. Brief flashes as I looked in the mirror or passed by a window. I quickly turned to look, only to find nothing there. The reflections in my house began to feel off, like someone was always standing just behind me, lurking, watching me. One night, I got up to get some water. As I entered the dark hallway, the motion sensor triggered the light. For a split second in the bulb's glow, I saw the ghostly face right in front of me before the hallway went black again. I froze, listening intently. No one else was there, just my imagination playing tricks on me. I started avoiding walking past windows or mirrors at night. The visage haunted me. I realized I hadn't used Snapchat since that first face swap. I was too creeped out by what I had seen. But my friends kept sending me snaps, wondering why I wasn't responding. Finally, I opened one, holding my phone away from my face at first. Cautiously, I peered at the screen. It was just a normal selfie of my friend. Letting out a breath, I relaxed and held my phone up normally again. Big mistake. The camera was in selfie mode, and when I looked at the screen, I saw a hollow-eyed face staring back at me once more. I screamed and flung my phone away from me. This couldn't be happening. Trembling, I crept over and peered at my phone. The screen had gone black. Tentatively, I touched it, bracing myself. When the home screen appeared, everything looked normal. No sign of the specter. I left my phone alone after that, too terrified to open Snapchat again. I even avoided my own reflection, turning or covering any mirrors I encountered. A week went by without any further sightings of the ghoulish face. Slowly, I started to feel more at ease. One night, I even walked down the hallway without hitting the light switch, no longer afraid of what I might see in the glow. Things were finally getting back to normal. But I should have known better. Late one night, as I was getting ready for bed, I made the mistake of glancing at myself in the bathroom mirror. There staring back at me was the hollow-eyed stranger. My heart seized in my chest. How was it doing this? Was I losing my mind? I couldn't tear my eyes away from the reflection. Slowly, the lips on the specter's face curled into a sinister grin. A deep, gravelly voice emanated from the mirror as if coming from within. You invited me in, it rasped. Now I'm part of you. I stumbled back, clutching my chest in fear. This had to be some kind of twisted prank. Some sick joke one of my friends was playing on me. But how could they make a face appear in my mirror like that? It didn't seem possible. I avoided mirrors after that, using my phone's camera any time I needed to check my appearance. For a couple days, things seemed to settle down again. But then the sightings resumed. A glimpse of the hollow face through the window as I washed dishes. The chilling visage flashing across my phone screen when I wasn't even using Snapchat. The haunting reflection looming behind me in the darkened TV screen. Soon I saw the face even with my eyes closed. It haunted my dreams. I'd wake in the night, pulse racing, sheets soaked in cold sweat. I stopped sleeping, stopped eating. I was unraveling. In my delirium, I smashed every mirror in the house. I threw my phone into the trash, but it did nothing to stop the visions. The ghostly face followed me everywhere now. Even closing my eyes brought me no relief. I knew then this wasn't some elaborate trick. Something had attached itself to me that night I used Snapchat alone. Some malevolent entity that stole my face, and now stalked my waking world. I was certain I had gone mad. It was only a matter of time before I lost myself completely. In desperation, I re-downloaded Snapchat. With trembling fingers, I opened the app and went to the face swap feature. I turned the camera to my own haggard face. Slowly, the specter's visage replaced mine, those hollow eyes boring into me. Before I lost my nerve, I took a screenshot. Opening the image, I enlarged the ghastly face until it filled my entire screen. Then I pressed delete. The demonic face warped and dissolved, screeching as it disintegrated before my eyes. When the last pixel faded, the oppressive presence that had haunted me for weeks finally lifted. The room seemed brighter, the air easier to breathe. I sank to my knees and wept. It was over. I'd deleted Snapchat again and destroyed my phone for good measure. I won't take any more chances. The doctors say my mind has recovered, that it was just a brief psychotic break. Sleep comes easy again, and I can look in mirrors now without fear. But I know the truth, and I'll never use Snapchat again. I was sitting in class trying to stay awake through my economics lecture when I felt my phone buzz in my pocket. I discreetly pulled it out to see a Snapchat notification that I had been added to a group chat with a few unfamiliar usernames. Figuring it was just a wrong number situation, I muted the chat and went back to pretending to take notes. After class, I headed back to my dorm room to grab some food before my next lecture. As I walked across the quad, I felt my phone buzz repeatedly. I pulled it out assuming it was a friend trying to make plans, but instead it was a constant stream of Snapchats from that random group chat I had been added to earlier. Confused, I opened the chat to see what was going on. The first thing I noticed was there were now over a dozen people in the group, and I didn't recognize any of their usernames. They were sending photos back and forth, mostly selfies at first. A few people messaged asking how everyone was added to this chat, but no one had any answers. Figuring it was just a weird mistake, I went to exit out and remove myself from the chat. But strangely, that option was missing. I was stuck in this chat with a bunch of strangers. Over the next few hours, the chat activity ramped up. People were posting photos from all over campus. the dining hall, the library, various academic buildings. A few even snapped pics from inside dorm rooms eerily similar to mine. One person commented, "Who are you people and how do you know where I live?" which prompted a flurry of confused and alarmed messages. I started to feel uneasy when I saw someone post a selfie from inside my econ classroom. A minute later, another photo popped up with a quad outside my dorm. The messages grew more ominous, with users making vague threats about the personal details they knew about each of us. It was clear this wasn't just some accident. These people were watching all of us and posting photos to prove it. I desperately tried to exit or mute the chat, but nothing worked. The notifications kept buzzing relentlessly in my pocket as I moved between classes. Photos of the path I walked across campus and the cafe where I bought coffee after my lectures made me more paranoid with every step. By evening, I was terrified. My phone was blowing up with a constant stream of photos from inside my dorm building. Dark, blurry shots of the hallway outside my room. Extreme close-ups of my door handle and name tag. It was obvious at this point. These people weren't just watching me around campus. They had access to my room when I wasn't there. Panicked, I tried everything I could think of to remove myself from the chat. I blocked every username individually. I turned my phone off and back on. Nothing worked. The notifications kept coming no matter what I did. I even smashed my phone screen in a frenzy, but the chat persisted through a cracked display. Exhausted and out of options, I retreated to my room to try and shut out the madness. But sleep never came as my cracked phone screen lit up all night with a relentless barrage of messages from strangers who knew too much. The sun eventually rose, but my horror at being trapped in this chat with lurking stalkers never faded. Who were they and what did they want from me? I racked my brain trying to figure out if I had wronged someone who would want to torment me like this. An ex-friend with a grudge. A vindictive classmate. But the random nature of the usernames left me no clues. Morning came and I considered just ditching my phone for the day. But I knew the notifications would keep buzzing whether I looked at them or not. This sinister game seemed carefully designed to make me feel powerless. Ignoring it would make that feeling go away. So I numbly carried my cracked phone with me through my daily routine, resigned to the creepy images that kept popping up. As I sat down to come again, a photo appeared of someone's legs, obviously taken from under the desk in the seat next to me. A chill ran down my spine and I couldn't focus on anything the professor said. At lunch, I paused before sitting down with my meal, wondering if the empty seat across from me would soon be occupied by one of my anonymous stalkers. I stared around the dining hall, scrutinizing every face and trying to imagine which ones might be part of this scheme. But everyone seemed harmlessly absorbed in their own conversations. When I got back to my dorm after classes, I considered trying to barricade my door or hiding out somewhere else on campus. But I knew these mysterious spies had already proven they could access my room whenever they wanted. So I sat tense and unmoving on my bed, jumping at every creak and rustle that could mean an intruder was nearby. The photos that night were the creepiest yet. Extreme close-ups of me sitting at my desk, eating dinner, even lying in bed trying to sleep. These people were not just stalking me from afar now. They had clearly been in my room, watching me intimately and violating the privacy I thought I had. The next morning, I went through the motions of my routine with bleary, sleepless eyes. My grades were starting to slip as I lost focus in class, twitching at every nearby movement. I knew I couldn't keep living like this, but I still couldn't escape this terrifying trap I was stuck in. Out of desperation, I went to campus security to plead for help. But with no evidence beyond the disappearing Snapchat images, they wrote it off as some kind of elaborate prank. Helpless and alone, I sank into despair knowing these invasive strangers had complete control over me. In the following days, I became a ghost of my former self. I was too paranoid to eat in the dining hall or study in the library anymore. My room felt violated. The only place I could relax at all was tucked in a corner of the shower, hoping the sound of running water would obscure any illicit photos being taken. I failed an exam for the first time ever, but hardly cared about grades anymore. This sick game had stolen everything from me, my focus, my appetite, my sense of security. I knew the stalkers were succeeding in their goal to torment me, but the powerlessness and violation I felt kept me pinned in place, unable to fight back. Soon, I stopped leaving my room entirely. I sat motionless and bleary-eyed on my bed as endless notifications continued buzzing on my cracked phone screen. New images appeared of my despair, slumped shoulders, tangled hair, days-old clothing I hadn't changed out of. The stalker's game had reduced me into this hollow shell of my former self. Part of me wondered if I should just end this nightmare permanently, but a tiny flicker of defiance whispered that doing so would mean they had won. And so I persisted in my misery, too stubborn to fully surrender, but too broken to recover any sense of freedom. The chat notifications buzzed on unrelentingly as I began failing all my classes. My hollow stare frightened anyone who saw me shuffling around campus like a zombie. The admins threatened to kick me out of school if I didn't get help, but no one could understand there was no help for this level of torment. All I could do was stare blankly at the ceiling and wait for this horror story to reach whatever end they had planned for me. It started out subtle at first, a snap here and there from accounts with random usernames, always showing someone wearing a plain white mask. No big deal, I thought they were just goofy prank accounts. I blocked them whenever they popped up, but a new one would always seem to take its place. The frequency started increasing over time, though. At first it was maybe one or two a week, but soon I was getting them daily, often multiple times a day. The snaps were always taken nearby, down my street, in front of places I hung out at, even right outside my house. How did they know where I lived, where I spent my time? I never showed my face or any identifying details in my own snaps. I got progressively more freaked out, but my friends all brushed it off as some lame prank. But deep down I knew there was something more sinister at play. The masked figure started getting closer in the snaps, just out of view behind a tree, peeking out from an alleyway, blurred in the background of a crowd. It was like they were tracking me, always a looming presence over my shoulder. No matter how many accounts I blocked, new ones continued to bombard me. I blocked 5 a day. 10 more would spring up. The frequency became maddening. I'd be snapped everywhere I went, the masked follower always lurking. Thankfully, they never tried to approach me in person, but the snaps were disturbing enough. Why me? What did they want from me? I racked my brain, but couldn't come up with any enemies or reasons someone would stalk me like this. The random harassing snaps were bad enough during the day, but at night they became the fuel of my nightmares. I'd toss and turn imagining that eerie mask lurking outside my bedroom window, the soulless black eyes staring in at me while I slept. I started becoming paranoid, looking over my shoulder everywhere I went, avoiding anywhere too secluded. I wanted witnesses around at all times. I stopped going out as much, hoping I could avoid being snapped, but it did little good. If I stayed home all day, the snaps would show the mask right outside my house on my sidewalk, peering between the bushes in my yard. It knew where I was at all times. My mental state deteriorated rapidly. I was anxious and on edge constantly, terrified the masked weirdo would finally approach me in real life. What did they want? Why didn't they just confront me already instead of endlessly stalking me and sending ominous threats? The suspense was the worst part. I tried explaining the full disturbing situation to my friends and family, but they remained skeptical. They hadn't seen the extent of the snaps, how malicious they'd become. Or maybe they just didn't want to believe something so creepy could happen in our sleepy little town. I couldn't really blame them. I wish it weren't happening to me either. The random snaps and masks all seemed so bizarre on the surface, but I sensed a deeply personal malice behind it all. This was beyond some online troll or prankster. They targeted me for a reason. It felt like the snaps were designed to not just frighten, but to isolate me as well by slowly poisoning my relationships. If my own inner circle didn't believe me, who could I turn to? I was utterly alone in this nightmare. The final straw came when I received a snap taken right inside my bedroom. My blood ran cold realizing they'd been in my house while I was out. They could get to me anywhere, anytime. I knew I had to flee, get as far away as I could. But would that even shake them? I packed a bag and drove all night, putting hundreds of miles between me and home. A hope rose in me that I had finally escaped. Once I settled into a motel room, exhaustion took over and I collapsed into bed. Just as I was drifting off, my phone buzzed. My stomach dropped. No, it couldn't be. With dread, I opened the snap, and there towering over me was a masked figure, looming at the foot of my bed in a dark motel room. There was no escaping my faceless stalker. I let out a scream and scrambled back, smashing against the headboard. The figure didn't move or speak, just kept staring down at me. Their presence was overwhelming, dominating the small room. I felt powerless, pinned by that blank, masked gaze. In desperation, I found my voice and pleaded for answers. What do you want from me? Why are you doing this? Please just leave me alone. The silent figure tilted its head regarding me. Then slowly, deliberately, it raised one gloved hand and pointed at me. A clear threat. The message was plain. I could run, but I could not hide. It would always find me. I recoiled in horror as the figure then turned and walked to the door, heaving one last glance back before slipping out into the night. I was bathed in cold sweat, trembling uncontrollably from the encounter. It was clear I couldn't keep running forever. I had to stand and face my tormentor, or spend my life looking endlessly over my shoulder. This was a game I could only lose by playing, but to confront them directly could mean my end. What choices did I have left? I sat paralyzed in that motel room until dawn, my mind racing. As the morning sunlight finally crept in, I came to a decision. I had to return home and seek help. My stalker had controlled me long enough with fear. It was time to take back my power. I drove home emboldened with shaky determination, not knowing what awaited me but ready to face it head-on. I was done being the hunted. Thanks for listening in. If you like these stories and want to hear more, then please subscribe and like and support this new channel. We have more stories for you to listen to.